Thank you, Megha, for speaking with CGTN. Now, India is a participant of the Bandung Conference. How does India view the conference as a legacy?
The meeting that took place was back in April 1955. And since then, it has laid the foundation for a number of important conferences and blocs that have been created, whether we talk about the non-aligned movement that gained precedence for a number of Asian nations and African countries that came together because they had just newly been freed from the colonialism, whether we talk about the French colonialism, or we talk about the British colonialism, and therein lay the very importance of how these countries needed to develop themselves. Most of them were underdeveloped. They were still reeling from the colonial backsets that they had to face because of the exploitation that these countries faced from the British or from the French or the Portuguese. And the Dutch colonization that happened in that entire period. And not just that, there was, of course, the World War II that had ended, and there was then the commencement of the Cold War. So it was judicious for these countries, these territories, to demarcate themselves as independent nations that are cooperating with each other, that are fighting against any sort of aggression that is shown by Western powers. They are working together for their economic good, for their cultural good, and just being an adhesive for each other's growth. And then we take a look at the creation of BRICS, which becomes largely significant and important against a number of groupings, whether it is about the United Nations, or we talk about NATO, we talk about G7, is something that is allowing for Global South to create an identity for itself. So while we live in a world of multipolarity and multilateral countries that come together, the power and influence of Global South continues to increase. And that is the seed that was sown during the conference, the Bandung Conference that took place in 1995. This took place in Indonesia. So 70 years on, this continues to be relevant. Of course, its principles of peaceful coexistence have been changed and altered, but the very essence of which, about how the predominance of Global South, which has countries with the largest populations, whether we talk about India, whether we talk about Africa, even other participating nations, observer nations, China, ASEAN nations, bring back the focus to Global South, which is also what the West is looking at. There is definitely a significant push that is being seen towards Global South as an entity where a peace that can be negotiated, and the negotiations can be led by countries which include Global South.